Mabuhay, this is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. What does it mean to let all that you do be done in love? I want to answer that today using the web resource that I often refer to, gotquestions.org. So, Love Beyond the Sea. I'm talking about love, and I take it seriously. I'm not talking about infatuation beyond the sea or like beyond the sea or whatever that is. I'm talking about real live, raw, get down to brass tacks, marriage, which involves love. What does love mean? People fall out of love, supposedly, although I think that's absolutely impossible to do. And as I make these videos using gotquestions.org about love, if you let these sink in, you'll get a much better idea and representation of what love is. So what does it mean to let all that you do be done in love? All that you do. Well, in the closing verses of this first epistle to the Corinthians, the Apostle Paul returned to the theme of loving God and loving others as the believer's ultimate ambition. And this is, of course, great information for those who want to be married. Let all that you do be done in love. 1 Corinthians 16. Paul had repeatedly underscored the principle to the Corinthians so that they would always remember to let love be their highest goal. Is that our goal when we put our feet on the floor in the morning? Love for God and fellow humans is to inspire and govern everything we do. By the way, the Corinthian church was just coming out of paganism. They had a lot of problems. When Paul stated, let all that you do be done in love, he had in mind the goodwill and benevolence that shows itself in self-sacrifice. Love requires an unconditional commitment to the loved one. The words, as I've said many times before, this is me, I love you, needs to mean something. It can't be just something you say to make somebody feel better. So, in his command to let all be done with love, it was as if Paul glanced back to consider everything he had addressed in his letter to the Corinthian church. Among other things, he had dealt with divisions and quarreling among members, lawsuits between believers, selfishness at the Lord's communion table, jealousy over spiritual gifts, and disorderly worship. Paul wanted to emphasize and remind the Corinthians that everything they did must be accompanied by love. Earlier in his letter, Paul pointed out that the most excellent way, 1 Corinthians 12, teaching that love is the most valuable of all the gifts of the Spirit. We talked earlier about, in another video, about it being the most, the best of the three that last forever. It's the most valuable. They reiterate again. He says, if I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, wouldn't that be great? And if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing, nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but I do not have love, I gain nothing. 1 Corinthians 13. Without love, all the other gifts of the Spirit fall short of the mark. Essential as these gifts are to the church, they are worthless without love. Love is the ecosystem in which our lives as believers operate and thrive. Same thing with marriages. Paul taught the Romans, love each other with genuine affection. See, not just words. And take delight in honoring each other. Delight? Romans 12:10. To the Ephesians, Paul said, be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Ephesians 4:2. And I'm just interjecting here. I'll bet that doesn't happen a lot when relationships and marriages dissolve. And again, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you. That's a driving force. Love is the prevailing attitude that Christians are to demonstrate toward one another and all humankind. Jesus himself said that his disciples are to be distinguished by their love. A new command I give you, he said, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love another. John 13:34. Jesus sets the example of how we are to love one another. He's always the example of love. He is love. God is love. Husbands and wives ought to love one another sacrificially as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for it. Ephesians 5. When we correct or rebuke someone, even then, it is to be done with love. 1 Timothy 5, Proverbs 27. If we must speak a hard truth to a brother or sister in Christ, our motivation ought to come from a place of love. Ephesians 4. We are always to work together as one body, inseparably joined for the purpose of building one another up in a spirit of love and unity. So, summarizing here, let all that you do be done with love means that God's unconditional love abides in us through our relationship with Jesus Christ. God's love becomes the indispensable force and driving motivation behind everything we do, no matter where we are and who we are with. Remember, love your enemies? We'll talk about that, I'm sure, in the future. We are compelled by love, cultivating love, pursuing love, and demonstrating love. That's a tall order, but that's what I try to do here with my wife on Love Beyond the Sea.